All right, so today we're going on a deep dive into the story of Greta Thunberg.
Okay.
We've got some excerpts from a biography about her, and yeah, we're going to try to figure out how she became such a global force, for climate action.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So
It is fascinating.
the book starts off by just painting this picture of her as a young girl.
Right.
Born in 2003, she was only 8 years old when she first learned about climate change.
Wow.
Like, can you imagine
That's so young.
having that weight on your shoulders at 8 years old?
Yeah. It's hard to fathom, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for her, it wasn't just some abstract concept.
Right.
It was deeply personal.
Yeah.
By 11, she'd fallen into a deep depression,
Oh, wow.
even stopped speaking for a while,
Really?
and struggled with her weight.
Mm-hmm.
The book really portrays it as if she was internalizing the planet's suffering.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
But then there's this really interesting twist.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and what some might see as a limitation actually fueled her journey.
Right. It's almost like her superpower.
Yeah.
In a way.
Totally. Yeah.
Yes. The book talks about how
Yeah.
her Asperger's, with its intense focus and kind of unique way of processing information,
Right.
allowed her to see the climate crisis
Yeah.
with incredible clarity,
Uh-huh.
cutting through all the noise and rhetoric
Yeah.
that surrounds these complex issues.
Oh, so it's not even just about raising awareness.
Right.
It's about this incredibly focused perspective that she can bring.
Right.
And, and her family. They didn't just stand by
Right.
and watch.
They were all in.
They embraced it.
Totally.
They went vegan.
Yeah.
Her mom was an opera singer.
Right.
Gave up her international career to lessen their carbon footprint.
Wow.
Talk about walking the walk.
That's amazing. It really speaks volumes about how deeply her conviction resonated with those closest to her, inspiring them to make such profound changes.
Yeah.
It wasn't just words.
Yeah.
It was action.
Yeah.
And it started at home.
And then comes this pivotal moment
Okay.
in August of 2018.
Yeah.
Picture this 15-year-old Greta
Okay.
sitting alone outside the Swedish Parliament with a hand-painted sign that reads, "School strike for climate."
Wow.
It seems almost too simple to be effective.
Yeah, it does. But
Right.
you know what they say about the power of a single spark?
Yeah.
I mean,
a fire.
it can ignite a whole forest.
And boy, did it snowball.
It did.
First, a few classmates joined her.
Right.
Then the media caught wind of it.
Yeah.
And boom,
Yeah.
the Fridays for Future movement explodes.
Wow.
By December of that same year, over 20,000 students
Oh, my gosh.
across 270 cities were striking.
That's amazing.
What do you think it was about her message
Mm.
that resonated so deeply with people?
I think there was a real hunger for action.
Okay.
Like a palpable frustration with the lack of progress from those in power,
Right.
and her direct, unfiltered approach,
Yeah.
her willingness to speak truth to power.
Uh-huh.
It was like a breath of fresh air.
It's like she cut through all the diplomatic jargon
Totally.
and said what everyone was thinking,
Exactly.
but were too afraid to say.
Right.
And her 2019 UN speech,
Yes.
with that powerful line, "How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words."
I get chills every time I hear that.
It gives me chills too.
Yeah.
It really puts things into perspective.
It does.
For those of us who
Yeah.
might not be directly impacted by climate change on a daily basis,
Right.
that speech,
Yeah.
it wasn't just about raising awareness. It was a call to action.
Absolutely.
It sparked conversations
Mhm.
in households,
Everywhere.
boardrooms.
Suddenly everyone was talking about the Greta effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Her ability to influence decision-making at all levels.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just talk.
Right.
The book highlights how nearly 80% of business leaders
Wow.
acknowledged that her activism influenced their thinking on sustainability.
That's a huge number.
Do you think that shift in corporate thinking
Yeah.
was genuine, or was it more about public image?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a bit of both.
Right.
I think some companies were genuinely inspired to make changes, to embrace more sustainable practices. But others, I think, were definitely feeling the pressure
Right.
from consumers,
Yeah.
especially younger generations
Yeah.
who were demanding change.
Right.
And that pressure,
Yeah.
in large part, can be attributed to Greta
Okay.
and the movement she sparked.
So she's not just changing minds.
Yeah.
She's changing business practices.
She is.
But of course, not everyone was thrilled with her message. She
Right.
faced some pretty harsh criticism.
Oh, yeah.
Even from world leaders.
Well, of course.
The book mentions how Trump made snide remarks about anger management.
Oh, yeah.
And Putin dismissed her as a naive teenager.
Right.
It seems like a classic case of shooing the messenger.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you challenge the status quo,
Yeah.
especially as a young person,
Right.
you inevitably face pushback.
Right.
Particularly from those who benefit from the existing power structures.
Right.
It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction.
But what's remarkable is her resilience.
Yeah.
She never backed down.
Wow.
In fact, she often used those criticisms to fuel her cause.
Right.
It's like she was saying, you think I'm just an angry teenager?
Yeah.
Fine. Now listen to what I have to say.
Exactly.
That unwavering commitment to her message, her refusal to be silenced, is so powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
It speaks to a deep-seated conviction.
Yes.
A belief that what she's fighting for is bigger than herself.
Yeah.
Bigger than any criticism or personal attack. And that kind of authenticity resonates with people.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like she's tapping into this collective anxiety, a sense of urgency that transcends age, culture.
Yeah.
And you know what's really striking?
What's that?
The book compares her impact on climate awareness to that of major international organizations and even natural disasters.
Okay, that's fascinating.
It's almost as if Greta herself has become a force of nature.
Right.
It's catalyst for change on a global scale.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that her message resonated on such a personal level.
Right.
It wasn't just about data and science. It was about our shared future, our responsibilities, and the moral imperative to act.
So it's not just about climate change. It's about individual responsibility and collective action.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. Greta's story isn't just about climate change.
Yeah.
It's about the power of individual action to spark collective change.
It really is.
It's about realizing that we all have a role to play in shaping the future, no matter how small or insignificant our actions may seem.
Right.
Like we all
have a part to play.
Do something.
Yeah.
It's crazy how one person, especially someone so young, can spark a movement across the globe.
Yeah.
What does her journey and this massive response tell us about how people are viewing climate change?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think one of the key takeaways here is this growing sense of urgency surrounding climate change.
Yeah.
It's no longer like this distant threat.
Right.
It's a pressing issue that's impacting people's lives right now.
Yeah.
And Greta's message really tapped into that in a way that resonated with millions.
So it's not just about raising awareness anymore.
Right.
It's about demanding concrete action.
Exactly. People are tired of empty promises and political maneuvering.
Right.
They want to see real, tangible solutions from governments, corporations, individuals.
Yeah.
And Greta's unwavering demand for action.
Right.
Her refusal to settle for anything less.
Yeah.
It really struck a chord.
And this brings up another interesting aspect of her story.
Okay.
This power of collective action.
Yeah.
Her solo strike might have been the spark.
Right.
But it was the millions who joined her, who marched in the streets, who raised their voices that turned that spark into a global wildfire.
It's like that old saying, none of us can do everything.
Yeah.
But all of us can do something.
It's a good one. Yeah.
And powerful.
Yeah. It reminds us that individual actions, when multiplied, can create this force for change that's impossible to ignore.
It makes sense.
And it's not just about these grand gestures either.
Okay.
It's about the everyday choices we make. Yeah.
The way we consume.
Right.
The way we travel. The way we engage with our communities.
Okay.
All those actions, when taken collectively, can have a significant impact.
So if a teenager with a hand-painted sign can mobilize millions and challenge world leaders, it makes you wonder, what can we as individuals do to make a difference?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the first step is to educate ourselves.
Okay.
About the issue. Understand the science, the impacts of climate change, and the potential solutions out there.
So before we can even start to make changes, we need to understand the problem.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
But then what?
Yeah.
There's so much information out there. It's overwhelming.
It can be.
Where do we even go from there?
It's definitely easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when you start digging into the complexities.
Yeah.
But remember, Even small steps can make a difference. Yeah. Reducing our carbon footprint, supporting sustainable businesses, advocating for policy changes. All these actions contribute to the larger solution.
Okay, those are all great practical steps.
Yeah.
But what about the emotional side of things?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Climate change can feel so daunting.
It can be.
Despair-inducing.
It's true.
How do we grapple with those feelings of anxiety and helplessness?
That's a really important point, and it's something a lot of people struggle with.
I think so.
Yeah. The sheer scale of the climate crisis can make us feel powerless.
Totally.
Like our individual actions won't make a difference.
Right.
But that's where Greta's story offers a powerful antidote to despair.
How so?
Well, I think her story reminds us that hope and action are not mutually exclusive. Even in the face of these seemingly insurmountable challenges, we can choose to be active, to fight for change, and to believe in a better future. Her unwavering optimism, her refusal to give up, it's contagious.
It is.
It reminds us that even small acts of courage can make a difference. And that collectively, we can create a ripple effect that can transform the world.
It's a reminder that we're not alone in this fight. There are millions of people all around the world who share our concerns.
Exactly.
And are working towards a more sustainable future. That's a powerful feeling.
It is. There's strength in numbers.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're part of a larger movement, a global community working towards a common goal can be incredibly empowering.
It gives us a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
A reason to keep fighting even when things feel bleak.
Absolutely.
So even though climate change is this massive, complex issue, there's still room for individual action and hope.
There is.
And Greta's story is like a perfect example of that.
It is. It's a story about courage. Resilience, and the power of one voice to ignite a movement.
Totally.
But it's also a story about hope.
About
the possibility of creating a better future. If we're willing to fight for it. And that's a message that resonates with people from all walks of life.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Greta Thunberg's extraordinary journey, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. So we started by exploring her early life. Her struggles with depression, and how her unique perspective, shaped in part by her Asperger's, allowed her to see the climate crisis with such clarity. And then
we saw how a simple act of protest, a school strike outside the Swedish Parliament, transformed into this global movement. Inspiring millions.
It's amazing.
To demand action on climate change.
It really is.
It really highlights the power of individual action.
Absolutely. It's like that ripple effect we're talking about. One person throws a pebble in the water. And the ripples just...
They spread out.
Touch everything. And in Greta's case... those ripples reached every corner of the globe.
They did. It's amazing.
And we explored how she managed to raise awareness, shift public discourse, and even influence decision-making in boardrooms.
It's really something.
In governments.
The Greta effect is a testament to the power of authentic, values-driven leadership. Even when it comes from unexpected places.
It's so fascinating how her message just transcended the typical political divides. Whether you agree with her approach or not, there's no denying the impact she's had on this global conversation about climate change.
No, it's true. She managed to cut through all that noise and connect with people on a really deeply emotional level.
I think that's a key takeaway here. The importance of human connection, empathy, shared values, in driving meaningful change.
It's not just about data and statistics.
It's about connecting.
It's about connecting with people's hearts and minds.
And speaking of hearts and minds, we also talked about the importance of individual responsibility and collective action.
Absolutely.
That idea that we all have a role to play in shaping the future. It's not about being perfect.
No, it's not about being perfect.
It's about progress. About taking those small steps in the right direction, even if they seem insignificant at first.
Absolutely. Every action counts. every voice matters.
Yeah.
And when we come together, when we pool our collective efforts, we can create a force for change that's truly unstoppable.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Greta Thunberg's world, I'm left with a sense of both hope and urgency.
Yeah.
Hope because her story reminds us that change is possible, that even seemingly small acts of courage can make a difference.
It can.
And urgency because the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And we need to act now collectively to address this climate crisis.
I think that's a perfect way to sum it up.
Yeah.
Her journey is a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future.
Yeah.
What choices will you make?
Right.
How will you use your voice?
Good question.
What kind of world do you want to create for yourself and for generations to come?
Those are some powerful questions for our listeners to ponder.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Greta Thunberg.
It was fun.
We hope her story inspires you to take action, to use your voice, and to make a difference in the world no matter how big or small.